Hello, good people. Welcome back to Ask Mrs. K. I'm Kay Matthews, your host, and today we're having a conversation that I know many of you need to hear, but might be afraid to have. So, as today's conversation starts around leading while tired, if you know anything about me or you're going to learn something about me, I am solution driven. So, we know our topic, right? Leading while tired. And when I say tired, I mean the kind of tired where, yes, you still have to show up, but how effective are you when you do show up? So for me, solution wise, I want to talk through a few things. I'm going to call them my gentle truths today, not to be too harsh because I know I can be. So we're going to call these gentle truths. Truth number one, let's just be real. Being tired does not mean you're failing in any capacity. It means let's just take a step back. Let's just see what do we need to do. Are we sleeping 4 hours versus 6 hours? Do we need the full 8 to 10 hours? What is it that we need to do to assure that we are getting the rest that we need? So that's truth number one. Truth number two, rest is not something you should schedule after burnout because if you're burnt out, it's a tad bit too late. It's something you have to first and foremost catch so you don't get to the burnout stage because I feel like burnout is the closeout to any and all things. It's something that you will struggle with to come back from. Um, Burnout, I have not successfully seen folks come back from. I'm rooting for anybody who has been able to, but burnout is serious, y'all. It's something that we say in context, but we don't really talk about and we don't talk through. So I've made note of that as this podcast to continues to really hone in on a lot of these subjects. But today I want to make sure we're surface level touching some things so that we are able to go in and have deep conversations in the future. Truth number three, you can be called and still need care. Calling does not cancel human limits. People say, I'm called to this work, I'm called to do this. It doesn't mean that you are not going to be tired while doing so. A lot of people show up tired. What's the effects of that is the real true question. How do you serve in its true capacity while tired? How are you most effective while tired? You have to ask yourselves those questions. And also, the flip side of that is thinking about if you were the person that was receiving interactions and engagement from somebody who was tired or on the verge of burnt out. How would that make you feel? So you have to put yourself in these positions of what if that was me and I was on the other side of this? How would I feel? How would that make me feel? And then do a self check in that moment to do better for the next person so they don't have to have those, really crappy experiences. Um, Truth number four, slowing down is not quitting. It's really having respect for yourself when it's all said and done. If we're just being real about it, it's choosing sustainability over being in survival mode all the time. Survival mode is a thing, right? But what about the thriving mode? We can definitely be in survival mode. We also have to have ways that we can thrive in the midst of this. It's not no all everything has to just be bad, bad, bad. Where's the good? I need that to be a part of all of the things that go wrong. But what about all of the things that also go right? Merging the two together to find your balance is always going to be important. And then, most of all, truth number five, our faith reminds us that we're not meant to carry everything alone. You need people. And when you realize that, even if you don't necessarily like people, you may be struggling with people, right? You need people. It comes down to finding the right people who will help you secure what it is you're trying to do and where you're trying to go. And then vice versa, you can also help them secure where they're trying to go and what it is that they need because it just can't be one sided. This is what actually deters folks from asking for help or getting people involved because they never know what the next person is going to do. So, really, honestly, big picture leadership is rooted and wisdom. It looks different for everybody, but it doesn't have to be driven by pressure. It can be driven by a lot of things, but the biggest thing is leadership should be driven by finding your balance and what works for you, and continuing on the way. So those are my five gentle truths. Now let's talk about a couple of takeaways because, of course, we're going to jump into this Q&A because it is Ask Miss K. But I want us to be able to walk away with something, in the midst of this conversation. You may hear something that makes you feel like, definitely have your aha moment, or something that makes you think and being like, oh, okay, I'm on the right track. I'm there, because oftentimes we are not, we don't encounter those reminders that we need for ourselves. You really have to go searching for those things. So when you have something that pops up, you should hold on to that. You should grab that and be like, okay, I am on the right track. She just said something that I was thinking about, or I was having those feelings, and now I know, okay, I'm not by myself because leadership, on top of being tired, is also lonely. Depending on what stage of leadership you are in, whether beginning, been out here for 20 years, all that, it doesn't negate you from feeling lonely, especially if you are navigating something that requires you in its whole entirety. That's where the tiredness comes in. That is also when we look at the loneliness, where I can't really explain to you how I'm feeling or what I'm going through, but understanding that that's your phase, right? And there may be a time where you do have to navigate some things on your own. And that it will not involve other people, but that doesn't mean that you don't need people. It's just that some stages of your leadership will require you to walk that journey alone to get to the next level where people will be involved. And so, a couple of the takeaways that I want us to think about: ask yourself, what can I realistically give at this time? Like, how am I most impactful without putting a lot of energy? Like, organically, how am I impactful? What's my niche? Like, what's my superpower that only I can do? I want you to ask yourself, like, what is it that I possess and what is it that I do that only I can do? Reminding us of that, because sometimes we lose, like, why do we get in the game? Why are we doing this? And if we're not constantly reminding ourselves of that, we certainly can lose sight, and that is going to be important. And then also with that, what's your capacity to get things done? Understanding that capacity and leadership will be ever changing and always shifting from here to there. Pausing and asking yourself, do I have capacity for this? Do I need to bring someone else in to help? What does that look like? What does that feel like? And how can we make that more actionable? So, two things: asking yourself realistically, what am I giving right now? What's my impact? Where am I most impactful at? And then, what's my capacity right now? Not what my capacity was a year ago, because it has certainly changed, but what's my capacity to get things done now? And what are the steps I need to make to assure that my impact is ever changing and growing with the times? One other thing, this is number two: productivity is not how much you do, it's how aligned your actions are with your values. I want to say that again. Productivity is not how much you do, it's how aligned your actions are with your values. In other words, real short and simple, don't just be doing things to do things. Do the things that are going to lead to being effective and impactful, whether it is short term or long term or somewhere in between. Not just doing things to do things. That's not productivity. Not busy work. We call that busy work. Not just doing a bunch of busy work. What are you doing that is going to continue to push you to the next level? How are you measuring those outcomes? How do you know these things are actually working for you? That's productivity. Am I just doing to do, or do I need to stop doing the 10 things that I've been doing and only maybe do 3 of those things? You have to be able to stop, pause, and look at that and figure that out along the way. And then rest. What does rest actually look like for you? That's the question. And in conjunction with that, does it look like shorter work days? Some of my team only works Monday through Thursday because we can get the same amount of work done if we were working Monday through Saturday, Monday through Thursday, right? You got to work towards making that happen. But once you realize what am I thinking about when it comes from a rest component? Because what I know is when we are rested, we are truly at our best. What boundaries are you setting for yourself is next? Are you setting clear boundaries? Are you just letting people just come in and do whatever? Are you just doing whatever? What are the boundaries that you have outlined and set up for yourself? And then delegating tasks. This is what I talk about needing people. You need people in the fold. You have to have people in the mix to help you. It really does alleviate a lot of the pressure that may exist, a lot of the pressure that we put on ourselves to deliver, to perform, to get everything right. That's not realistic, y'all. That's not what true leadership is. True leadership is acknowledging when you need to shift. You need to shift from what you're used to. You need to shift from the norm. You need to shift in a different, completely different way. And saying no without explanation because what? No is a complete sentence. Put a period at the end. Rest is not weakness, y'all. It's strategy. It's the strategy that you now have to implement in moving forward. It's the key strategy component to surviving and thriving. Not just surviving, but surviving and thriving. The key element to that is rest. Rest is mandatory, not optional. Put a period at that, make that a sentence, make that a statement, blast it everywhere like myself. I put it in my tagline of my email so we know it's real. Um, Rest is something that we'll always be fighting for in some capacity because we've been shown in business and in leadership that if you're not doing a bunch of things and you're not working 12 to 24 to 36 hours consecutively and all those different things, and you're not actually doing anything. And I want to tell you that doesn't do anything but cause you an early death. That's not reality. It's not truth. It's not facts. And so, as before I go into, move us into the question portion of that, I do want us to remember one key component in jumpstarting our rest strategy. Don't forget to breathe. It's okay. Take those deep breaths. Remind yourself you're not just walking, talking, and just doing a bunch of things. You're a real person. You go through real things. Um, and remembering to breathe will bring you back to center every time. So, putting in, this is a quick little tidbit, putting in reminders in your phone 3 times a day that just say, remember to breathe. It'll change your life because it's done it for me. So, I'm not telling you something that I don't do for myself. I think mine right now in 2026 is set at 5 times, reminding me to breathe because the first 20 days has been, whoo, reminding myself to breathe has definitely been giving me the balance that I need for myself. So I'm going to implore you to take those steps today. Remember to breathe and then remind yourself that you need to breathe and that rest is key to leadership. So I got my sidekick Tony with me. Say, hey, Tony.
What up, everybody?
So we're going to jump into a few questions around leadership and anything in between because Tony has full control over the questions today. This is Ask Miss K, right?
Yeah,
So we're going to jump right on into Q&A and have a good conversation as a continuum.
no, most likely, and you know, with all those points that you were talking, I feel like that comes down to also self awareness.
Yes.
Like you need to kind of be aware of what boundaries you need to set,
Yep.
what your limitations are, in order for you to move forward. Right?
Yep. Agreed. Boundaries are important. And sometimes people are offended by folks who have boundaries. Just let them be offended, y'all. Just keep moving. Keep doing what you need to keep yourself in the game. And boundaries are always going to be a key component of that.
So, okay,
Hmm.
what boundaries changed your life the most? Like, what boundaries did you have to set that kind of stuck with you?
The biggest one is the respect of my time. Um, One thing I tell folks is I don't work after 3 o'clock. Doesn't mean I don't necessarily work after 3 o'clock. What I'm saying is I have a boundary of I have to disconnect from this work in some kind of way. And typically around 3 o'clock, my brain goes a little downhill. I'm shifting into I'm a whole wife, have a dog, so I'm a dog mom. Um, I have something that allows me to one, have the joy that I talk about in this space. So that's important. The boundary of respectful of my feelings when I'm not having a good day, when I'm having a great day, all of those things like good and bad. Being intentional with my words have also allowed me to set real, true, clear boundaries where you understand who I am. And it may be different. You know, maybe someone has never told you, oh, I'm not going to do that. And then I'm not going to do that. And I've consecutively not done that. So I am someone, I stand by what it is that I say and what it is that I do because I will always know for sure that actions speak louder than words.
Correct.
Yep.
And like, when you set these boundaries, it's just self-love.
Yeah.
If you don't, I feel like it damages your mental health too.
It does. People will trample all over you because they know that you'll do. If I ask, she'll do. And it's not that I won't. It's about when you ask, and then the answer may not always be yes. It will certainly maybe just be no with a period at the end. Whatever that is, it's not coming from a place of malice. Most folks struggle with rejection. And boundaries is to me like the sister of rejection. You know, it's like I'm not gonna do this. Oh, they rejected me. No, I'm just telling you that you need to do this. These are my boundaries. I'm not gonna do this. I'm wholeheartedly agreeing on this. I don't agree with this. And so all of those things are important. When you listen to someone and what they're telling you, you have to respect that. Boundaries are of a form of respect. I respect what it is that you're saying you want to do or don't want to do, all those things in between. But boundaries will always be important, or you'll run yourself into the ground, and rest won't even be something that you think about. You'll just always be saying how tired you are because you don't get to rest because you're doing all of these things for all of these people and never saying no.
Right. And another no is a yes to you.
Correct.
Right. And let's just say you do set these
Hmm.
boundaries, like let's say it's a friend group or someone that's been in your life and they're important and they're just not listening.
Hmm.
Like they just don't respect you. Do you take yourself away from those situations or in those groups of people?
Yep. You do. I know it's hard, y'all. It's practice. You have to practice it. You have to practice removing people who do not bring good things to you or bring harm to you. It's not beneficial to put their well being over yours, especially like mentally. Like, come on, like this has been the continued behavior of a lot of folks. Um, so when people don't respect your boundaries, you do have to remove them. That's the reality of it. Or you're just gonna continue to go through that. So just know that if you can't do it, it's just you're the one that is causing damage to, not them, because it's causing damage to you. Because guess what? They're getting everything they need, so it doesn't matter. So the
Right.
problem then, all of the consequences lie on you, because you're the one that's solving all of the problems, doing all of the things in between. It's not working in your favor. It's only working in their favor.
Wow. And like I have another
Hmm.
question. So like how do you protect your mental health while just showing up for others and
Hmm.
it's hard
Yep.
as a leader.
You got to be clear on your intentions. Why am I here? What am I here to do? What outcomes am I expecting to have happen as well is always going to be important. So you have to have clear expectations, because expectations lead to boundaries again of what you're going to do and what you're not going to do. So with that in mind, you have to have a reason for doing, not just doing. It goes back to what I was saying earlier. Don't just do a bunch of things to do a bunch of things. But reminding yourself, like, I only want to do this, or I only have capacity to do this. And if anything goes outside of those boundaries, then I have to take control of stopping that and making sure that it's not a continuum.
Mm, nice. And like on the topic of leadership, like what habits are you like intentionally breaking, like as a leader?
I am intentionally breaking the way folks feel when they interact with higher up leadership, like being afraid to talk to that person because they have a title. I have a title because, you know, funding, structural
Task.
aspects of a nonprofit and things like that. But at the end of the day, I'm Kay.
Right.
And that's what I want people to always understand and realize, because when you put people too high up and their fall from grace is always nasty,
Hmm.
because we put them so high up. We don't expect for them to be human and regular things to happen to them. We don't expect any of those things. So in order for that not to happen and to not be a thing, you have to be real with folks.
Hmm.
You have to put that out first and foremost. So for me, it's always changing the narrative of what leadership is, what leaders are. First and foremost, we're human, and things happen to us. We're not exempt. So keeping that in the same respect when it comes to a lot of things as well is always important.
Okay. Um, I guess another thing is like, how do you handle guilt when you choose rest over productivity?
There's no guilt in rest. That's not a word that I personally put into play. I am never guilty about doing what I need for myself, because I know how I show up and how I want to show up intentionally. So there's no guilt there. There should never be guilt related to resting. Guilt, maybe guilty as in the way of I've neglected myself in getting what I need, guilty in that way, but guilty of doing and getting what I need for myself. Those two things should not go hand in hand. That's a practice that we need to work towards dismantling in its entirety. There should be, you should definitely not feel guilty about getting what your body needs and what you need, full circle.
And what does that look like for this season? Like, not in just theory,
Hmm.
but the practice of it for
The
you.
practice of it is take those breaks, and it doesn't have to necessarily be tied to a vacation. Call them mental health days, call them wellness days, call them whatever you need to call them where you don't clock in. That's it. It's simple to do. It takes practice. So it's easy to say, easy to do, but you have to practice doing it. So it gets a little bit easier every time you do it. It's like today I need a mental health day. And because mental health has been stigmatized in so many ways, people think that that's just an excuse. You just don't want to come to work. Exactly. So it's a mental health day. I don't want to come to work. I don't want to come to work and make everybody else's day horrible. I don't want to come to work and be mad the entire time and then ruin again somebody else's day when they may have nothing to do with what I have going on. So being honest with yourself, not feeling guilty about any of that, and just doing what you need. That's an important piece. You got to take control of your own mental health. And just because folks are in leadership, it doesn't mean that, oh, I get to call off because I'm the boss, or I don't have to come in because I'm the boss. No, I'm the boss, so actually technically I do have to come in, because how will things get done, right?
Right.
So I have just as much of an obligation to show up and to come in as the people who work for me,
Right.
as my team. That understanding, though, don't come in here if you just need to stay at home. That's okay. Take a mental health day. Still get your compensation where you don't have to worry about that, because most of us are not resting because we're going to miss out on money. Let's just be real.
Right.
We are thinking about, I'm not going to get paid for that day, or, oh, I don't want to use my vacation day because I have something planned down the line that I want to use it for. All those things that talk us out of rest. That's what a lot of us are guilty of. But we should remove that, because guilt is something that should not definitely be associated with rest. It's practicing, it's doing over and over again until again that guilt becomes a thing of the past.
And you can be so strong, we need to normalize this as a job requirement for, jobs. People
Hmm.
go through a lot. And how,
Building in wellness packages, asking for these things, if we normalize asking for those type of things, then maybe it would become the norm. Maybe it would be automatically included. But if we don't normalize that people should not reach the point of burnout before they retire, or they should not sit at their desk and wither away, simply because they have bills and priorities and responsibilities to meet, That's not a quality of life when it's all said and done. That's living. That's not thriving in so many different ways. But it's the narrative, right? It's what we've seen a lot of, and us practicing doing something different is how we change all of this.
And you know, us as leaders, we need to push that forward. You know, you got to make a really nice environment for people to come work for you.
Mm-hmm.
You
Oh
work for
yeah.
you work for them.
Yeah, exactly. There's always a running joke about I don't like being called a boss. And then there are a lot of times when we are out doing things, I tell folks, no, I work for my staff right now. I mean, I'm the boss or the person in charge, but they're actually in charge, and I'm following their lead because one, there's trust built
Hmm.
into this relationship and into the environment. Where I shouldn't have to question what is happening. I should know exactly what's happening, and we're all on the same page.
Yeah, and it's very easy for like people to just move fast for the
Yep.
money so they can pay bills. They
Yeah.
have a lot of stuff on their plates, but you know, as a leader, what are signs that you see when someone needs to slow down? Like, let's say you see your employee and
Hmm.
you just know that he's having a bad day.
Hmm. Hmm.
When do you see those
I'm just gonna
signs?
pull you to the side, just as true as the day as I see it, and tell you, are you okay? Do you need to go home? Do you need to clock out? Do you need an extra break? What is it that you need? Versus watching you crash and burn.
Right.
The other part of that is you don't always see everything. Let me be clear. You don't always see everything, but if you are truly paying attention, you'll catch some of the things, but you won't catch all. I won't just be like, oh, I catch everything. No, but energy is a big deal for me. And with an open door policy in play, even if I don't catch you, you should feel you should be good, feel good enough to walk through that door and tell me like what's happening, what's going on. That you need maybe a little extra time to do some things, whatever is needed. The true open door policy is putting those implements into play. I always say, even though my door is closed, it's always open.
Wow, that's beautiful. Um, what does sustainable leadership mean to you today compared to earlier in your career?
Whew, has been a lot of changes. Funny you bring up being five because I always say I've been an entrepreneur since I was 5 years old. I used to sell my easy bake oven cakes to my friends in kindergarten. So there's the leadership thing or the ability to want to do something different from the norm has always been embedded in me. Have I always done it the right way? Absolutely not. I was out here learning some things that no one was teaching me the game, and I was teaching myself the game. And I realized, oh, okay, that part of the game I don't want to carry on. I want to do something different. So the ability to be ever changing, always learning, something new is what sustainability looks like in leadership or in entrepreneurship all the way across the board. It's finding your way, learning those lessons, and then sharing those things with others. Again, like I mentioned in previous episodes about, I don't understand why we gatekeep. Everything that is for me has my name on it, and that's the only thing that I'm working towards. So that's what sustainability looks like, and how it comes into play. It's taking all the things and experiences that you've learned, doing better, doing greater, finding balance in this entire process is always the biggest key component of all of this.
Mhm. Nice. And as like your business grows,
Hmm.
let's just say these startups or
Hmm.
whatever leadership positions you're in for your
Hmm.
businesses, you know, things will get faster as it's like a snowball going down a hill, right?
Hmm.
How do you stay aligned with your values when business demands increase?
Well, business demand increase is actually what you're striving for, right? And so, being a strategist and having a strategy in play that is somewhat of a coverall or a catch-all, whichever one is needed. I feel like both of those things are needed. And you don't know what like say you can prepare for the unexpected or the things that you expect, so keeping that in mind that you ain't going to be able to protect yourself from all things and everything, but how you react to those things are always going to be important. So it's really having a strategy in play for what may and what may not happen or what may come up, all the monkey wrenches. And you know what? Even with all of that being said, you still may not be able to get ahead of some things. Just being honest and realistic and having the ability to strategize
Hmm.
is going to be the real key component to that.
Right. And for your business,
Mm-hmm.
obviously as a leader, you have a vision, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And how do you push that vision onto your employees
Mm-hmm.
so that they can see their vision too?
So the vision is ever changing. The mission is the part. So our mission is the most important part. The vision will always change. You know how you go from not needing glasses to needing glasses? Vision got a little blurry, right? So the vision will always change because the environment that we live in is ever changing. But your mission should be steadfast. The mission drives the vision. Therefore, your vision will always change. You know how people say she's a visionary. That's because she's ever changing, or he's ever changing. He's seeing what is up ahead, beyond what we see right now, and understanding like what that means. And so, no, the vision, clear that it must be in alignment with the mission, but understanding that the vision is ever changing.
I really like that. I never thought
Mm-hmm.
about that because for me, I feel like I'm a little stubborn. I
Mm-hmm.
could see a vision and I'll try to stick with it through thick
Mm-mm.
and thin. But the importance of being able to pivot
Yep, that's it.
when situations happen like that is
Yep, that's it. That's why we always say that shift happens. That's what it is. That shift that I'm talking about is your vision. Like, oh, I could see this, but where I saw us a year ago is not actually where I see us 3 years later.
gotcha.
So everything that I am experiencing and working towards and things coming to fruition are are from the work that I put in years ago.
Hmm.
It's all coming into play, right? So as a visionary, my vision is ever changing. It's like, oh, okay, you know what? In 2023 that could have worked, but that ain't gonna work in 28. So
Right.
let me do some shifting, let me do some changing, to kind of put some, some bumpers in place for if that thing doesn't still make sense, then we'll know how immediately to shift and do better.
Nice.
Yep.
And I have a important
Hmm.
question. What questions do people ask you behind closed doors, but rarely say out loud? Like these are like the you don't have to say names, but
Hmm. One of the key things that I am often asked is simply, how do I do this? How do I stay in doing this? Um, and the truth of it is, if I had a choice, I wouldn't choose, um, doing something that could be, at times, very, very overwhelming. It makes me think at all times. It's like you don't turn off, but this is why rest is important. So the question around how do I do this? I am searching and on the hunt for joy and balance. The two go hand in hand. That's how I do it. That is the point that I got to where I realized that it doesn't always have to be about pain and suffering, bad and heartache and trauma, all the things that are bad. What are we lifting up that's good? What are we talking about that makes us smile? What are we talking about that brings us happiness and we're like, yes, that happened? All of those things, the balance, is where that comes into play, and that's always my response is you have to find your balance. How do I stay in this? I found my balance. I set my boundaries that I'm just not going to budge on because it doesn't make sense, and that it will cost me more to do so than it will ever cost the person that is asking me to do it, and understanding that in its full entirety.
mm, okay. What advice would you give leaders who feel pressure to always appear strong? Never to be vulnerable. You know,
Yeah.
got got to push through everything.
And we've been taught that. So, my advice to you is to figure out what it is that you really want for yourself. Where does the vision and the mission aligned? And where do you fit? Are you on the outside or are you on the inside? And when you're on the outside, that's the struggle side. When you're on the inside, you're able to understand what is happening. Now, there'll be times when you got to step outside and look and be like, okay, I see a couple of changes. But finding the balance and what is going to work for you, I cannot stress that enough. I'll continuously say the things that are important repetitively. You'll find that out about me because I want you to understand, just like having these conversations, they're important. They have to continue, they have to be repetitive. We have to talk about these things so we can normalize these things so they don't seem so foreign when someone has been able to have the ability to do so. And we don't think that that person has more than us or thinks less of us, all of those things, simply because they figured out what they want for themselves. That's what a good leader does. The flip side of a good leader is to share the knowledge. I started this podcast so I could do just that. No need for me to sit on a bunch of things that I've learned and feel like, oh, I think this person should know this or that person should know that. Create a platform, create an outlet to be able to share these things so we can normalize a lot of the good things that happen in leadership and not always uplifting the bad things, or the good things are overshadowed by the bad things. So really, truly, honestly understanding that balance is key here. This is what we're striving for. We're striving as leaders to find our balance, to understand the importance of rest, remembering to breathe, and setting boundaries so that you and everyone around you will know what this looks like. Know that there's more to leadership than survival mode. There's a way that we can thrive. There's a way that we can collectively do this thing together as well. That is always going to be key because remember, you need people.
Right.
Even when it feels like you don't want them, you will need them at some point in your journey of leadership. This is how you're going to be able to continue to grow and expand. And understanding that component about you never should stop learning as a leader. You should always be looking for outlets that center you and those around you, and everyone's overall well being is going to be key because leading while tired does not diminish who you are. It just slows down your process to get into the greatness that you're after. So I want to close this podcast out with, again, your understanding of what's next. Some reflection questions that come to mind that I really want you to be able to think about is, what support do I need for myself? And how am I going to execute getting it? When I'm leading from exhaustion, how intentional am I? And what would leadership look like for me if I got more rest? Those are the things I want us to continuously ask ourselves on this journey through. Because leadership is a journey, and it's like this map. And the road, it may tell you to turn left, and just like GPS, it reroutes and says, oh no, you need to go right, and then cut across through here and take a completely different route from what you planned. But the gist of it is, don't ignore the need to stop. Don't ignore the need to pause. It does not diminish who you are. It does not mean that you're not impactful. It does not, it should not make you feel less in. We all get tired, y'all. That's the reality of it. And taking the necessary break that you need is better for you and everybody else around you. So I have appreciated y'all tuning in and continuing to rock with your girl on this podcast. I'm certainly looking forward to having more conversations. I am grateful that y'all are continuing to rock with me on this journey. I am Mrs. K, and this is the Ask Miss K podcast. See y'all soon.